we've got some migrants crossing the river right down here at the Dos Laredos Park. It's a speed game here because there's nothing that really slows people down once they've started swimming across. Their goal is basically to get up and get into either town or into their getaway vehicle that's waiting right down here. Okay, so you can see a few folks right there on the opposite shore. Looks like they're in the water. Yeah, sure enough. Okay, so CBP is walking over. And we can see them across the way. They're scanning for other folks, but looks like it might be 2, maybe 3 people essentially hugging the opposite shore. Dos Laredos Park. This is a park that kind of runs along the southeastern side of Laredo, Texas, across the Rio Grande, as you can see here from Nuevo Laredo. And this is a pretty large park with lots of opportunities for crossings. It is patrolled by CBP, but certainly not the level of defensive works that you'll see in a place like Eagle Pass. We're hiking up here from the riverbank up to the gravel road that leads through the park here. So this is official vehicles only, but public park, so folks can come down and get a little taste of nature. I'm wandering in towards the main rail bridge. I don't know if you can see it kind of there through the trees. But interesting that you can see up into some of the settled parts of Nuevo Laredo right on the other side of the river. So relative populations, Laredo is at about 250,000 people. Nuevo Laredo is at about 450. So a little less than double its American counterpart. And is a big source of industry and a big crossing point between the two cities for freight. So coming out on these walks is usually pretty fruitful because quite often I'll get a curious person who is in the know, if you catch my drift, who will, after I kind of explain what I'm up to and what I've seen and get them caught up to speed with some of the areas along the border that they don't know what's happening, they'll let me know what's happening along their section of the border, and I learn a lot. So Laredo is quite calm as per what we're seeing in these other Texas crossing points, with the exception of Sunland Park, but I guess that's technically New Mexico. And so not a lot going on here right now. Of course, in the past there has been, but the general understanding of how the cartel is operating in the area is quite businesslike and quite hostile to journalists poking around. So I've heard this now from a couple of folks who are in the know, and along with their exhortations, which I'm hearing more often here than in other spots that I've been along the border, but keep a low profile. So that's what I'm planning on doing. Good to get kind of the DL on what's happening in town as far as the migration. There's still a little bit going on, dribs and drabs here and there. There was a family apparently that was in a hard to access spot, and it is hot here, and so it's rough on the personnel to have to go chasing after these people or wait them out or whatever in order to be able to do their job, because they have to wear so much gear, and it's roasting in this heat. So here's the rail bridge going across. When I first came through, the train that was going over was making lots of noise, so I decided to hike up into the park here. No ways to be able to get away from the noise. But let's explore a little further into town and see what we can find. Dos Laredos Parque. Across the street, we've got a huge amount of factory outlet shops, and we've got the International Bridge. I believe that's number 1. There's again a number 1 and number 2, which is pretty common in these towns that are next to each other, sister cities. In this case, Laredo and Nuevo Laredo on the Mexican side, divided by the mightier Rio Grande, mightier at least than when we see it further upstream, where it can be a little bit tame. Looking through right here, got a Nuevo Laredo bank, short swim, and you're up to the US. However, even though there's a lack of concertina wire, we have a lot of patrols. In fact, I can see no fewer than 5 CBP patrol vehicles along this short stretch. So they're relying on manpower to do what they don't have, lots of ugly wire and fences and stuff, to try and stop folks. A bunch of people out here fishing. Kids are playing. We've got kind of a storage area down here at the end of the park under the International Bridge that we'll go check out. We'll walk along the river while we're doing it. Kind of makes you wonder about a place like Eagle Pass missing out on having a waterfront area like this for people to hang out at and enjoy themselves. You can see across the river, got folks just hanging out, enjoying their Friday as well. I'm guessing that the outlet mall parking lot also doubles as parking for folks who are walking across into Nuevo Laredo. So this is a cool site right here at the International Bridge number 1. Just have a crazy amount of swallows. Can see their nests up here. Wonder if I get close enough if I'm gonna start getting dive bombed. Look at them go. Wow. Oh. Oh my. Oh, there's a baby. Oh, look at this. Oh, a baby fell out of the nest. Oh no. Oh. Boy, and there's nothing I'm going to be able to do about it. I dare not touch it. Oh, poor guy. Oh. On some level, you're not officially in a town on the border until you've been to the sign. We can stake our claim on Laredo, Texas. This is where the pedestrians and cars pay to cross the bridge and head into Nuevo Laredo. So the exchange rate. So you can sell dollars for 18.05 pesos or buy pesos for 17.5 pesos per dollar, which is the best exchange rate I've seen in quite a while. So I'm going to exchange some money, and this kind of downtown, old town Laredo is the most kind of Mexican feeling spot that I've seen on the border so far on the US side. So we'll go walk around and actually see if we can find some tacos. So this is a lot of small shops, little tiendas selling different things, just like you would see in Mexico. I'm curious to see how they survive in an age of Amazon. Seems to me that maybe lots of little boutique stores like this might have a harder time. Although being right here at the border, I'm sure they're reliant on a fair amount of cross-border traffic. I'm not getting the sense that Amazon is nearly as big in Mexico as it is in the US. Okay, I know it's really windy, but I just got a heads up from one of the folks in the know that we've got some migrants crossing the river right down here at the Dos Laredos Park. So the folks in the know here in Laredo say it's a speed game here because there's nothing that really slows people down once they've started swimming across. Their goal is basically to get up and get into either town or into their getaway vehicle that's waiting right down here once they get across the river. Okay. I think I see a CBP officer straight ahead. Okay, yeah, he's got his flashlight out on the water. Okay. Yep. Okay, so you can see a few folks right there on the opposite shore. Looks like they're in the water. Yeah, sure enough. Okay, so CBP is walking over. And we can see them across the way. They're scanning for other folks, but looks like it might be 2, maybe 3 people essentially hugging the opposite shore. So, hi. Got the wave. He's wanting me to know that he knows where I am, which is great. I'm not trying to hide. Okay, looks like they got up and out of the water. So our officers are, looks like they're headed back up the river. Now, my guess is that these folks aren't going to be dissuaded for forever and might just be waiting for their next opportunity to come back across. So I'm going to hang out here for a minute and see if there's any more action. Okay, so silhouetted against the street light, I just saw the two folks who were trying to swim, and we'll probably see them. Yep, there we go. So it looks like they've got an inner tube. One of them is carrying an inner tube, and then another one has something else that he's carrying. But what they're doing is they're hustling along the road, I'm guessing to another spot where they're going to try and cross. So they were repulsed back in this spot right near the International Bridge number 1, and now they're working their way upriver. And I'll bet they're going to try and come back down and cross in a different spot. Okay, I don't see him running anymore. So I'm guessing that this might be around the next spot when they're going to try and come down. Unless I see them, I mean, I can kind of see them when they run past because they're silhouetted against the street lights. And I didn't see them run past this spot right here. So if that's the case, I'm guessing we'll see them head down into the water here in a minute. Funny anecdote. One of the folks who was in the know was telling me that they'll cross over to the Dos Laredos park and start playing basketball with folks who are playing basketball. So they're always doing these counts of how many people are doing such and such a thing, because people will come over and get into a group of people that may have been hanging out at the park for a while as cover, or even if they don't know the people, just jump in on a pickup game, and then they don't look like they necessarily have just crossed the river. So we're gonna pop over to the Nuevo Laredo side, see what we can see. Well, that was easy. Literally didn't even have to stop. They're not checking any of the cars coming across. So we're headed into Nuevo Laredo. And we're going to find this restaurant, Sabores Cielos. So the primary cartel in town is the CDN, or the Cartel del Noreste, a very business-like organization intent on making sure that there's not a lot of petty crime, that things go smoothly here. Apparently they will commonly dress as police officers or military personnel, but the best way to tell the difference between them and the real guys is that CDN will oftentimes wear a patch that says CDN, but they also wear tennis shoes, apparently, rather than military issue boots. if they want to stop you, if you have the ability to kind of blithely ignore but not make it too obvious that you're doing that and drive away, that is the suggested course of action. If you know that it's police rather than cartel, you do stop. But if it's cartel and you can kind of mosey on down the way, then off you go without any trouble. Oftentimes they try to commandeer your vehicle so that they can stop up certain streets, so they don't necessarily destroy your vehicle or do anything bad to it, but they'll take it from you and then drive it to whatever point that they need it to gum up traffic, and then they'll leave it there until whatever they've done is accomplished, and then you apparently can go pick up your vehicle in the street. So that was an interesting tip. But I'm hoping that I can pop in here, grab lunch at this restaurant, and avoid any hassle. Okay, headed up the street to our Sabor Cielo. Let's see what we got. It has a kind of center of town, center of downtown, old town type feel, but plenty of the buildings have been renovated. It's looking good. Okay, I believe Sabor a Cielo. Okay, this is it. I'm looking forward to this. This should be fun. Okay, getting a look at the menu. So, let's see what we got here. We got paninis, croissants, salads, hamburgers, various pastas, and grapes. Ooh, man, that looks so good. Okay. I think I might have to get pasta because it's been a minute. So, yeah, maybe like an Alfredo. That sounds quite good. So we've got fettuccine and chicken. Fettuccine pollo con salsa de tomate, tomato sauce. I want a white sauce. I don't want tomato. So let's see. I'm going to give this a look over and then order something. Okay. I wound up going with the fettuccine Alfredo and chicken. And this is what I got. Oh, with garlic bread. This looks amazing. And broccoli. I could have gotten with shrimp or camarones, but decided to stick with the chicken. And I think I made the right choice. Oh yeah. Oh, that was amazing. Oof. And big portion size. My stomach appreciates it. My waistline does not. Fantastic. Oh, that's right. I got the fettuccine Alfredo with chipotle. So this has got a little bit of a zing to it. It is good. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna enjoy it. Okay, rolling out of there. Oof. That was good. I would definitely go back and try some of their other stuff, especially their crepes. They had lots of different toppings, and you could choose up to 3. That looked fantastic, but not after that much pasta. That was crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna drive around a little bit, see what I can see, and then head off further south. So we're headed from kind of the central hub of Nuevo Laredo in towards the Rio Grande, real close to where the first international bridge crosses. And we're going to drive along the water front as close as we can get to it. There's a little highway section. And just see what things look like, because this is where the folks who were crossing last night were running along, and I want to see this from the Mexican side. Okay, looks like there's a fence up along here I don't know that I'm going to be able to take a U-turn out of here. So we're going to do this. We're going to go out and around and basically take this street one way back. And I'll try and film as I'm driving along it so we can kind of see this stretch. Okay, so got down to a bank quite a ways above the river, so I was thinking, hey, this isn't going to be a major hopping crossing spot. And I got out and I was kind of looking around, started to unpack the drone, and boom, they were on me. So they were calling more people to come and talk and check things out, and they wanted to see any credentials that I had and anything else. And whew, that was crazy. They didn't want to let me go. They thought I was involved in other things. And so I'm going to take that as my cue to not do anything in this neighborhood. I'm going to, in fact, head back across the river and head out of town, because that was freaky. They really didn't want to believe, you know, that I was just a reporter, just trying to take some pictures and whatnot. Oh, and I've got Guardia Nacional passing here. So, tally-ho. Let's see a little bit of video on what this looks like heading back through to the International Bridge. Okay, ready to turn. Oh boy. Mexican Army doing the patrol. We got them right ahead. So we're headed back to the International Bridge number 1. And I've got Guardia Nacional right behind me, so I'm actually going to turn this off. Okay. So this is that stretch where the folks make their way across, and you can see the fence has been broken down in several spots. The outlet mall, as you across the way. Okay. I'm trying to get across, so I'm going to jump in the Century lane here. It looks like there's a bit of a road that heads straight down there. I'm not being aggressive enough. They're jumping in. Okay, headed out across the bridge. Apparently, for some reason, I'm not allowed to take the Century lane, even though I've got the Century card. So they sent me along the other direction, but that does take me along this part of the park, opposite of where the park of the two Laredos lies. You can get a little bit different view here. Figure out next steps of getting across number 2. Oi! That took a long time. Ugh, that was like an hour and a half. Okay, I guess not that long, but it sure seems like it when you're sitting in the 100-degree heat. Happily, air conditioning. So, word to the wise, did a little bit of research. Just because you have American Century doesn't mean you have Mexican Century. And so, bridge number 1 only allows you to cross back into Mexico if you have Mexican Century, which costs like $300 to $400, it looks like, in order to pay for and get so that you can cross on bridge 1. So it looks like that's mostly just going to be locals. Yeah, so they were right. I was in the wrong bridge and I needed to go to number 2, but on some level they don't explain, maybe because it's kind of complicated and kind of a pain in the butt to have to say all that to the dumb Americans. They just tell you, go bridge 2, bridge 2. Okay, I'll take your word for it. So I was a little miffed initially because I was like, are they just picking on me because, you know, I'm American? No, in fact, they're not. There is this thing called Mexican Century, and you have to pay for extra money in order to be able to pass on that bridge. So, anyway, back in Laredo and headed south to McAllen area, and then on to Brownsville after that.